All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews, and we're back with more Maniac. So if you haven't seen this episode, it's episode 4. It's called Furs by Sebastian. So we'll have full spoilers in here if you have not seen the episode. And again, this show is a nice little 10-episode journey, and so this episode is kind of like it's another unique experience from the rest of the other episodes. They're on drug B. Annie and Owen have taken drug B, and I don't know if they're having a shared experience or if this is just Annie or Owen's experience. I would say more likely it's Annie's if it's a solo experience. But they're a couple. It's in the 1980s. Kind of carries over from the end of last episode where he's got, this like crazy mullet and wearing a Warren Moon jersey, and she's got her acid wash jeans, mom jeans on with her big blonde perm like hair. And the experience they're having is very much like a kind of like a little mini Coen Brothers movie, like a short film by the Coen Brothers or an episode of Fargo or something like that. It's very quirky, very indie kind of feel to it, where it has to do with Emma Stone plays kind of like this, like she was a legal guardian for somebody in like a hospice for elderly people, like a nursing home, and she died, and she had a lemur that she was going to leave to her daughter. And somebody stole it. And so she, is at the DMV trying to track down the license plate, and that means the address of the people who took it. And throughout this whole thing, it almost feels like you have to think of it on a separate term, but try to remember in the back of your mind that this is all not real, and this is part of the side effect of the drug, and whatever this computer is kind of doing on top of all that to guide them. And so she cleverly goes to the DMV person who has glasses so that she can read the address that she wants off of her glasses, which is pretty clever. And just the acting in this is also really cool. They're playing totally different people. So it's kind of a nice thing. It's, being able to play different people throughout this series, you can tell. So he's like, I love the Volvo that they're driving. It reminds me of my mom's old Volvo. He's like, yeah, let's fix this marriage. So I mean, they don't really seem to need fixing, but he's probably one of those guys who just constantly feels like he needs to improve, or maybe he feels like she's too good for him. I don't know. But she gets the address and they go to this place called Furs by Sebastian. Now, this is where it just kind of like feels like it's a little episode of Fargo or a Coen Brothers short film or something. Is these guys, they're running like an illegal, like they have exotic animals in the back that they kill to make like hats and furs and stuff. But they're also like competitive like dancers. It's all really weird. One of the actors is from Kids from way back in the day. I can never remember his name, but he's got that unmistakable voice. She sneaks in there, and everything is just kind of weird. Like the code for their office is right on the door. So we're not talking geniuses. We're not, dealing with like criminal masterminds. In fact, I don't even know where they kill these animals because it's a pretty small place. But again, since none of this is real, you kind of just gotta take it at face value. So it kind of turns into this little quirky like situation where, she thinks she's alone. People keep coming into the room. She keeps having to hide until she can figure out how to sneak out of there. Because her husband, Jonah Hill, is like distracting the guy up front, trying on furs so that she could go sneak around. They take off. She's seen the lemur, and they decide that they're going to come back and break in and take it at the end of the night, at the nighttime. So they come back at night where she pulls out a gun and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, no, it's just a squirt gun. And then she pulls out a brick. He's like, what are you going to do with that? And I love the line where she says, it's the key to the city. And, you know, she just throws it through the window. That's a pretty nice little line there. There's no alarm. She confirms that these people are not, you know, rocket science, you know, scientists. They're not very good at what they're doing. They're not trying to hide it very well. But they pretty much get caught right away. I just kind of like the slow, like, infiltration while the guy kind of hits them over the head with a brick later. So they're tied up, and they're, you know, they're doing their usual bad guy speech, like, you know, maybe we should just leave you in a ditch somewhere, you know, and kill you. It's also important to point out that earlier when she was at the hospital, this guy from Fish and Wildlife shows up looking for the lemur. And, you know, she's like, well, are you a cop? And he's like, well, we're pretty much the same thing as far as authority goes. So when they're tied up, all of a sudden you hear from outside the store, you know, hey, we got this place surrounded, and, you know, come out with your hands up. And it's Fish and Wildlife out there, like cars, like 3 or 4 Fish and Wildlife cars, like they're like a SWAT team, like they're ready to go in to get all this for a lemur, which, you know, makes this all pretty ridiculous. Especially the reaction from the owner of Furs by Sebastian, who just starts going, all right, it's time, you know. My dad used to say something, and it ends with him saying, like, and you gotta fuck him in the face. You could fuck him. And so he gets like these 2 Uzis, puts on a fur, and goes out to confront the Fish and Wildlife guys. And it's just way more serious than the situation deserves. Way more serious. This is like freaking, you know, the like Tombstone, kind of like a shootout's about to happen over a fucking lemur. And it's very overly dramatic. You know, like when he finds out they're Fish and Wildlife, and again he's like, we're pretty much the same authority-wise, you know. And it ends up being this crazy shootout between this guy with his Uzis and the Fish and Wildlife people opening fire. So meanwhile, Jonah Hill and Emma Stone, they get loose and they try to get the lemur out of there. In this firefight, one of the guys gets completely obliterated with bullets. Just completely obliterated. And I love the excitement from the Fish and Wildlife guy, like, it's finally happening, like he's waited his whole life for some crazy shootout to happen. Like, this is the case of the lemur that ends with this like crazy gun battle. So they end up escaping, and she gets the lemur to the daughter's house of the lady that she wanted to get it to. And immediately when she gets there, you know that this is not going to work out the way they want it to. They just went through this crazy night to get this stupid animal. And now she's caught in this like dramatic, you know, like she's caught in the middle of this family drama situation where a mother-daughter reconciliation, you know, bad blood between them, and how, unbeknownst to Emma Stone, the mother sent the daughter a letter that she just got saying why she gave her the lemur, basically saying, you know, this lemur's better than, you should never have kids. This lemur's why you shouldn't have kids. This lemur's also why I should have just had a lemur instead of you. So she was right. It was a fuck you lemur, not a, you know, I love you lemur. And so Emma Stone was kind of inadvertently just this pawn in this family game. And so she leaves with the lemur, and they go and they leave. And I what I kind of like about this is that, you know, like in these kind of situations, in all like these movies where somebody is doing somebody a favor to get somebody to point A to point B, and the expectations you have, not knowing that the results at the end could very much just be like all this work you put into something could pretty much mean nothing because of the expectations that we have put on it and the importance that we put on it. And this is where she tells this story about what sounds like the death of her mother and how she was protecting her sister from the situation. And in this, at the end of this story, Jonah Hill's like, well, when did your parents get back together? And because your parents aren't divorced. And this is where you realize that in this trip that they're having, part of her real life has leaked through, and she's telling a story from, of Annie's life, something that happened to her, which is another explanation for why her father is in that avoid thing. So that in her real life, in Annie's life outside of all this, not only did she probably, I'm pretty sure her sister's dead from that accident, and it's pretty apparent that her mother probably died too, and that's probably why her father is in this like little avoid like solitary confinement box. And that she realizes that, she's like, I don't know why I'm talking about this. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's clear that part of her, her real life experiences has bled into this fantasy. And that's another like nice little moment of of knowing more about Annie's backstory. And at the end here, it just kind of ends where the Fish and Wildlife people show up at their house, which I figured they were. And they arrest Jonah Hill, and Emma Stone's inside the house. But right before that, when she was at the daughter's house, this semi comes blasting down the street past Jonah Hill, and even, and he's like, what the fuck was that? What the hell? And inside the house, she's like, what the hell? And I'm assuming that was like basically the same semi that had killed her sister in that accident, and that it had somehow gotten into, like, that memory is so powerful that it was going into drug B. So showing how powerful that moment in her life is, that it couldn't keep it out. So that's it for this episode. I don't know if it's going to continue with this storyline, because it's kind of a weird place to end it with him getting arrested. And the description of next episode sounds completely different. So anyway, but it is a nice little weird little quirky story that feels kind of separate. If you didn't know that this was a part of the journey, you would think that this was just a mini episode of like an anthology show or something. But anyway, that was it. It's really good. It's really quirky. Get to see acting, good acting. So, it's a fun little story. So if you, that's it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. All the support that I've been getting, thank you very much. Anybody that chooses to watch this, thank you very much. I really am enjoying this show. I hope you are too. So this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying we'll have episode 5 up probably tonight. I don't think I'll have time to get another one done before I go to work. So that's about it. We will see you on the next one, and have a great day. Bye.